in my mind, food is just such a fabulous organizing tool. It's part of our everyday lives. People care about their health, and so using food as a way to raise consciousness about sustainability issues and business issues, to me, makes a lot of sense. So we're helping people figure out where their food's coming from and really reacquaint them with a sustainable model.
This is Peak Moment. We are living at a peak of human innovation, information, wealth, and health. But we're also at a peak of population and consumption, with rising temperatures and declining resources fueled by cheap oil and gas. Peak Moment Television, bringing you examples of positive responses to energy decline and climate change through local community action.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson, and my guest today is Wendy Siporen, who's with Thrive, the Rogue Initiative for a Vital Economy. Welcome.
That's right, thank you.
I'm glad you're here. So let's start. What is Thrive? Sort of what is Thrive about?
Well, Thrive is a not-for-profit economic development organization. So our main focus is on financial aspects, helping small businesses, small locally owned businesses become more sustainable and to create a more sustainable local economy.
So you're in Southern Oregon. Sort of what do you think of as your territory that Thrive is active in?
Well, officially Jackson and Josephine counties, and that means everything from Ashland up to Grants Pass, and then further west to Cave Junction.
So Rogue, thinking, is that the Rogue?
That's the Rogue River Valley.
Okay. I mean, people don't know what kind of rogue we're talking about here.
For those of us that live here, the Rogue means the Rogue River.
Somebody from far away may wonder what kind of rogues you have in Oregon.
Well, we're the
good
kind.
rogues, of course. So how did Thrive get started? And what propelled that, and what happened in the beginning days?
Well, I wasn't there, but Thrive started as a coalition of different nonprofit organizations that were working together on low-income empowerment issues. They were affordable housing advocates, gleaners, farmers, women's access to credit, microenterprise development. So a very broad coalition of groups that felt they wanted to pool their resources and work on shared projects, and that was back in 1996. And
so, how did it evolve to becoming Thrive?
The coalition was very successful in supporting its member organizations, but they never actually did a project together. And they, around 1999, were very interested in this issue of supporting local farmers and doing value-added products, and they wanted to create a kitchen space where small new businesses could go and make specialty food products.
So a kitchen space, meaning, I mean, it has to have some regulations, right? To be to then sell products.
A certified kitchen facility.
Okay.
And so they...
did that happen, or where did that go?
It didn't happen. So that's sort of where the focus changed for the organization, and they, in 2001, decided to become a community-based organization. That's when I came on, and really looked at what it means to do sustainable economic development, because that has been their mission all along. And so for the past 5 years or so, I've been reinventing that. What does it mean to do sustainable economic development?
Sustainable economic development. Now, that sounds like that could be as broad as the universe. So what kind of realms, what kind of activities does Thrive pay attention most to in that?
Well, what that means for us is supporting small locally owned businesses and helping them improve their business practices, but also helping them buy from other small locally owned businesses, so the money stays locally, it doesn't go off to corporate headquarters, and also helping consumers understand that relationship between the purchasing decisions they're making every day. And
so that you're buying local. So you're buying local makes a difference here in your own community. It helps it to thrive.
Right.
So going back to your businesses, in what ways do you help businesses help support them in making links to each other? How, tell me a little bit about that side of things,
Sure.
and then we'll go to the consumers and so on.
Sure. Well, we have a program called the Food Connection, and that started in 2004 with a big conference. Basically, we just got a lot of food people together in the same room, over about 100 people that were either growing food, or they were restaurant owners, or making value-added products. And I don't know, just that kind of synergy that happens when people get in a room together.
Who all love food, or producing it in some form or other.
Right.
What happened? What happened there? It sounds like that was a kickoff to something. Is that right?
That was the kickoff to just learning about our local food system, and learning about those business needs, and helping them make the connection to each other. So we all sort of exist in our little isolated realms. We're very busy doing our own thing, and so it's good to take time out to meet one another. So we talked about what are the challenges, what are the opportunities with doing direct sales from farms, and it's not easy. It's a lot of hard work and meeting business needs. So we talk about those really practical issues at the conference, and then we help people keep that connection to one another through a directory. So we have a Food Connection directory that
look at that.
That lists different products that are grown locally. So you look up arugula and then find the farms that are growing arugula, and if you're a potential buyer, then you know where to get it.
You know where to order it. So it says, Food Connection, a business guide to local products, Southern Oregon, farms, ranches, restaurants, retail, specialty foods. So those are all represented here.
Right, and this is our version of a model that EcoTrust and the Chefs Collaborative does up in Portland, Oregon. They were really the groundbreakers in doing the Farmer-Chef Connection. They have an annual event, and they were really instrumental in getting our program down here started.
So the Farmer-Chef Connection, I would imagine that that's a really nice way to get more visibility for farm products, because restaurants can, or do they, there's a question, do they let it be known in their menus or their signboards or whatever that you're eating local arugula or local beef or whatever? Is that part of the...
Well, actually, a lot of our local restaurants were buying from local farmers, but you wouldn't know about it if you went into the restaurant. So we really saw a need to help the restaurants as well reinforce that relationship and let customers know this is where the food is coming from, and actually reward those restaurants that are doing the right thing by supporting their neighbors and the farmers.
So how does what kind of perks are there for the restaurant owners that do buy local? I mean, how do you help support them that way?
Well, after that first conference, we decided we wanted to let the consumers know, and we started a Rogue Flavor campaign, which is
Rogue Flavor.
Right.
That's nice.
That's our. Here's the logo.
Okay.
So it's really a marketing tool to help people find local food and help identify locally produced goods. So it is in the form of a little shelf talker that you'll find in the grocery store to identify locally produced products, and also in the in restaurants. It can be a little
logo
icon
on the menu, in the menus.
Or on a product. So this is just a way for us to help people find locally produced products.
Which is a nice logo. I mean, the 3 colors, you've done a nice job. I'm sure that's starting to get some identity happening in your community, recognition.
It is. We've been growing very slowly. So this is our 2nd year, and we've almost doubled the number of participating businesses. We have about 60 businesses now that are Thrive members, and then a few more that choose to list in our food guide, which I'll also highlight. So this is a guidebook for either people that live here or visitors. And it has different sections, farmers markets, farms, restaurants that buy locally, especially foods, and wineries. We have a lot of new wineries and breweries.
So this is, how is that different from your food connection? That's a business guide. This is oriented more for the consumer. Is that right?
That's pretty.
So that's for us. Yeah,
it's for us to visit those businesses. We have a great map.
Oh, a nice map. That's great.
Helping people find businesses they want to go visit, and want to make sure that I also caters. And things like that.
So I imagine a big chunk of part of your work is just keeping up with who are in those businesses as new business owners arise to do, say, catering, or another restaurant opens, or a farm goes up or goes down, or whatever. Just keeping up with folks.
Definitely,
I imagine it's part of what you're up to.
We have actually another part-time person that does outreach with businesses because it's hard to do everything.
Yeah, well, that's true for any going concern. And I'm going to stop for just a second, even though we're in the middle of programs. How does the funding come to print a beautiful glossy thing like like this, which is a yearly publication, right? At this point,
well,
or your little tags.
We do sell advertising in the guide, and we have a listing fee for people that want to be listed, but try and keep it very, very moderate for a small farm. So, for example, it's just $40 to have a small business listing. It's a lot more to have a full page ad on the back. Yeah. But most of our funding comes from private foundation grants, and also the City of Ashland has an economic development grant, and they've been very supportive of our work as well.
Great. Because that's always going to be a question for because you're a model for other groups that want to support local business, perhaps even beyond food, but just starting with food, because that's such a critical resource for all of us. I mean, we can live without other things, but we can't live without food. Right. How do we get the funding to do the connecting work that you're doing?
And it's an ongoing challenge for us. So I spend a lot of time doing grant research and writing, and so that's part of our goal to become more sustainable as an organization, is to continue funding for our own work, and providing a service to those businesses, and finding a way to stay in business ourselves.
Because I'm sure that it would seem to me very likely that farmers, or what I've been hearing, farmers and ranchers and food producers and even retail grocers and so on, all have such thin margins.
Right.
That they're not going to be able to cough up $200, $300, $500, whatever, for your work, even though they'd want to.
Right.
And appreciate what you're doing.
It's very true, and a lot of people don't realize that, because we think of business as having deep pockets, but these are family businesses. They're working long hours with few rewards, and that's really the type of business that we are serving, people that are in business to provide a service because they love that, and that's really a whole different vision of business than we have in our culture as being profit-driven solely. So it's part of our mission to create a new awareness of a different type of business. It's not just focused on the bottom line, but also on being a part of their community.
Actually, we've been talking with folks who are talking about the triple bottom line, that they're both doing a financial bottom line, which they have to pay attention to, and a social one, and an environmental one, so that your local farmers and producers have probably always been paying attention to those, bottom lines, or, as best they can with time and other limits. And being local, of course, part of the story is they're going to be keeping local money circulating locally, which is different than if you were going to a big chain or a Walmart or whatever.
Right, that's called the local multiplier, and there's been many studies done that show that when you shop at a locally owned business, that higher percentage of that dollar you spend there stays within the local community because they're using local services and local banks, and instead of using their out of the area. Right. So for example, a supermarket chain, they're purchasing products from their distribution center nationwide, and many of them are restricted from even purchasing local products.
Really?
So some are more flexible than others.
Which is a shame. I mean, it would seem to me that you'd want a local grocery store, even if it were owned in California, like Safeway, would be wanting. I would want to have locally produced produce because it's going to be fresher.
Right.
And they may not be, I don't know if Safeway, that's true, I don't want to badmouth them, but it may not be possible for them because of policies. It may or may not.
Safeway's not one of our members.
So are there other initiatives that you're doing? I can see that you're having to really partly educate the consumer.
Right. I think a lot of people actually do know about this and want to buy locally, and we're just helping them make it easier for them and identify locally produced products, because it's hard to tell unless you're very familiar with the product.
So
or
look at this little, start looking for the little tag and start paying attention to it. That's
so unless
great.
you're looking on the back of the jar, seeing where it was made. So
and you don't in a rush. You don't take the time to do that.
Right. Everyone's busy shopping.
So you've got some exciting things coming up pretty quickly here that you do every fall. Tell us about
this is actually our first year. So
we're going to have
this is the expansion of our Rogue Flavor campaign. We're doing an Eat Local challenge, and this is a really fun poster that we're doing for that.
Local Lucy, who says buy local, eat local.
So our Eat Local challenge is basically a week, a little bit more than a week in September, that we're going to be asking people to eat more locally, to do what they can, think about where their food's coming from. So make one dinner that is mostly from local ingredients, or go to the farmer's market if you've never done that before, or have an Eat Local potluck with your friends, or eat out at one of the restaurants that is featuring local food during that week. So it's just really fun. We're having cooking classes and some films. And so it's really a whole
You're creating
variety.
A celebration, aren't you? Sort of a social event, as well as just the separate things that each person can do.
Exactly, and by concentrating a week, it makes it easier for people to handle.
I mean, if you're a month,
take baby steps.
You can focus. You can get started on the step.
Because there are other people who have committed to eating locally year round.
Yes.
You've probably heard about the 100-mile diet, so you can check them out. And we're making baby steps here, but each one is helping people think a little bit more about where their food's coming from.
I'll add a quick story here, is that a year ago, when I was first paying attention to the notion that we're going to have a decline in our oil supply, and the idea of eating locally came up in our neck of the woods in Nevada City, someone said, let's try eating local for a week. Just a few friends, a few acquaintances. So that's what we did. I had about 1 day warning. So I hadn't done any research. I normally eat at from our Natural Foods Co-op, but I didn't research the CSAs. And it was a challenging week, and one of the first things that I noticed that I missed was salt, because I defined it quite narrowly. So I'm sure that people here, do you give them a chance to sort of define what local means to you?
Exactly. We're not trying to put strict regulations. It's all about what you want to make, what decision you want to make for yourself. So some people may say, oh, this is the Rogue Valley. Some people may say, oh, it's within 100 miles, or the Pacific Northwest, and whether they want to eat all locally or mostly locally. So it's really a tool to have people start identifying with where their food is coming from and start thinking about it, because it's not really necessarily a part of everyone's consciousness.
I'm sure that's true. I mean, it's been cheap oil and gas has made it very easy for us to get our pineapples flown from Hawaii and South America and Brazil, lamb from New Zealand, and all the other things, which won't be possible forever.
Right.
So you're going to want to have your local fed grass, your local lamb or whatever it is that you love. So I can see you're doing that as an awareness tool. I'm curious to know whether you're planning to do any kind of people's stories, because I would imagine that you will find some very interesting stories of what it was like for people to do that, where they found those products, what they were missing. I'm sure coffee and chocolate will come up if some people are very strict about where they're just, I'm not sure that South America is local.
Right. We actually have a great little TV show called But I Want My Banana. So it's the same dialogue of what do you give up and what don't you. So we do have a link on our website to a blog that we are not organizing, but it's a Eat Local Challenge blog that people are able to share their experiences on.
Fun. It'd be fun. Maybe in your local press, perhaps we'll get into it. I would hope to help get involved with that.
So.
Thrive is you're part of a larger network of businesses. Bali, right? Business.
Right. The
Tell me what it
Business
is.
Alliance for Local Living Economies. And as I was saying earlier, when I came on to be the coordinator of Thrive, I was exploring that question: what does it mean to do sustainable economic development? And had the opportunity to go up to a conference in Eugene, the Sustainable Business Symposium that's put on at the University of Oregon every fall by the graduate students there, and heard a woman there by the name of Judy Wicks speak, and was incredibly inspired by her story as a business owner in Philadelphia, and her life story at the White Dog Cafe there in Philadelphia, and her alliance with David Corton,
who's a visionary writer about
exactly.
the turn from empire to the earth economy is what he talks about.
Exactly.
Yes.
And David really helped Judy Wicks realize that she was really the answer to a lot of the crisis that she was seeing with some of our business models like Ben & Jerry's and Adwala getting sold off to major corporations, and losing that socially responsible business at the corporate level. And so really bringing it back to the local level and saying, well, this is work that we can do right here in our towns by supporting and diversifying business, not by becoming bigger, but by becoming richer and more diverse.
That's a nice way to say it. Not bigger, richer, more diverse. That's a different, it turns on its head sort of the standard wisdom of economic development, right?
Exactly. Just so the Business Alliance is a network of different local business networks, and so with the vision of buying locally and helping those businesses become more sustainable. But if you can't buy what you need here in Southern Oregon, then look to buy something from another business that supports the local economy where they are. So it's a fair trade vision that's even within the United States.
That's interesting. That's a nice way of saying the network, so that if somebody makes your salt and from a Valley group in California or wherever, you can bring it up here. In our last 5 minutes here, I wanted to ask: are there other projects? Not that you need any more. It sounds to me like you are busy doing things really important.
And there's really a lot more that we want to do, but some of the other projects that we're working on are one of the things that we've learned as we've been working with local farmers and food businesses is that we've really lost the agricultural land. We don't have very many farmers left in Southern Oregon, and it's very difficult for new farmers to get started. The price of land is very high, and there's pressure to develop agricultural land.
Yes.
And so we're part of a community food security coalition here, working on trying to get a farmer incubator started that would help new farmers get started, giving them business experience and help them get onto land. And part of the model is also to help to have them practice delivering products. So they'll be growing food to deliver to the food pantries in our area. So we want this not to be just an elite movement.
Really, so there's some social justice quality,
exactly.
strand to what you're doing, as well as kind of practice, learning to be a farmer. I realize that people don't get training as they probably did 50, 100 years ago.
There are a number of internship programs on small farms, but then where do they go after that? So it's a big leap to start your own business from there.
And I would imagine also with the pressure on land for development, it's not going to be really affordable, that there's got to be some vision, hopefully, for some land trust or agricultural easements or ways that land is kept in an affordable level for farming to happen. We're going to depend on that.
Because land is being valued at its trophy mansion price and not its productive value.
Yes. For McMansions, not for ordinary folks, for farmers to feed us. So where do you envision, where would you love to have Thrive be in 5, 10 years?
Well, Their ultimate vision is to also have a local investing mechanism, and we're exploring different ideas. The Business Alliance for Local Living Economies group is working on the idea of local stock exchanges.
Oh.
There's also just having a rotating loan fund or a local credit union that's investing in local businesses. Because right now, when people want to make investments, they often have the option of going to the stock market.
Of course, Wall Street, and it's, you know, it's a known quantity and it's good returns, and isn't. Yes, I think that's a critical extra piece in here. Is there folks that would wish to invest locally if there were a credible, dependable institution, you know, that was doing that work.
And so, along with that concept, Judy Wicks talks about the concept of a living return. So we've been expecting very high returns on our investments that aren't sustainable and are based on speculation.
Exponential growth, yes, yes, certainly speculation too.
And exponential growth, and so educating people to accept a living return on their dollars, and seeing part of that investment is in investing in their community also. So that's definitely a goal. And we'd also, of course, like to solve the issue of local meat production as well.
Meat production.
So we have a lot of cows in Southern Oregon, but a lot of them go off to the feedlots in California and other places. So we want to help find a USDA processing facility
right here. Local.
Because it's the closest one is an hour and a half away.
Well, I understand, because we're in Northern California and our local beef producers have to truck their cattle several hours to be able to have them processed. So,
exactly.
I mean, you know, big business, big factory farming has sort of taken over that role. So those are really laudable, wonderful projects. I hope that you have lots of community involvement with your Eat Local event coming up in the fall, in a few weeks, and your other visions. They're really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing them.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So the best to you. May thrive. You're watching Peak Moment, Community Responses for a Changing Energy Future. I'm Janaea Donaldson. Please join us next time.